Hi, this is Aisha Tyler. I just spoke with Kara on Really Famous podcast, and I have to say it was one of the richest and most fun conversations I've ever had. She also gave me an A in mental health, so yay me. I can go home and just write it in my diary. Self-talk is almost automatic, right? It's like a record that just plays in your brain, and you have to break it. You have to constantly be breaking it. So saying like, wait a minute, no, that was like, don't do that to yourself. That produces nothing, right? Like whatever it is about your body or about your face or about whatever it is, like that's just useless self-talk, and get back into the good stuff. The other self-talk I love to do if I'm alone at home is I'll go, I'm going to throw myself a party. And then I just like make myself some food, get myself a glass of wine, and I'm like, I'm just partying by myself. And I never think like, oh no, I think like this is gonna be the greatest night. I'm gonna just like take care of myself, be nice to myself. Yeah. So,
love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
I want to actually use that as an assignment for some people who I work with. Step one is just noticing it, right?
Yeah.
So even start tallying it. Put
Right.
a tally mark every time that you, and you might be surprised by how many.
I get that it's all day long.
Yes,
and
it's
like
constant.
Here's the other thing about the body. This was the self-talk thing I've been doing about the body. I just keep going, this body's carrying around your brain. Because I think we're just so fixated on how we look. I'm like, this body is carrying around your brain. And like your brain is the most important part of you. Like the brain is what's like perceiving and seeing and feeling and doing. It's the most part. So this little body with whatever this one thing is that you don't like is carrying around your awesome brain. Stop being so freaked out about your tummy. It's carrying around your brain.
I love that. That's a gem. So here's something I try to tell myself about, like, I'll point out all my flaws to myself, my facial flaws, like, what is with this aging face? And like, I'm looking at my smile. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I'll tell myself, there's something about your face that makes people feel comfortable and feel like they can talk to you.
Welcoming.
So your face is very important to be the way that it is. You don't want to change it. You don't want to hate it.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my God. Like and also a friend just sent me a photo of myself in my 30s, and I was like, I look like a golden retriever puppy, not in a cute way. You know when like they're like 2 or 3 and they're like really floppy and droopy and weird looking? I actually prefer my face now because I just think like, look at all this, like the face is I was alive. Look, she was dumb.
Yes.
She didn't know what the hell was going on. She was a ding dong, and I mean she was a nice lady, but she was a dummy. And like all this other amazing stuff has happened since then, and like it's here.
Yeah, it's
right?
it's like when you look at a face that's a lot younger, it's like they're missing something. Something's missing here. It's like blank.
She's terrified.
Yes.
And she's like holding on by a thread.
Right, or it's almost like a fuzzy outline of something, like you're not even seeing the whole beauty of the not fully formed. So messages like that, I say we all start like thinking of messages like that to tell ourselves, because it really is. It's true.
It is true. It is true. My mom said, she goes, you're going to love your 50s. And I was like, all right, lady. She's like, it was my best decade. And my 40s were very dynamic, like good, but very, very dynamic. And by dynamic, I mean, the shit went down. But like, you know, changes were happening, and changes were good and changes were bad, but change is inevitable. And so it was just a lot changed. My 50s have been just like I have been more at ease. I have been more relaxed. Things, and I'm going to ask you this question now, which is, let me see if I can parse this properly. You were saying that, you know, that the moment that you went from, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, to, of course this is happening, I think is tied a little bit, maybe not to age, but to experience, which is like when I was younger, things that I'm doing now so effortlessly would have been an intense strain. I would have been really struggling to come up with answers and solutions for creative problems. I would have doubted myself constantly. I wouldn't have asserted certain ideas because I wasn't confident in them working. And now I've been doing this long enough that just answers and solutions they just come with ease. I'm synthesizing at a faster rate because I've had more experiences. I've seen more things. And these things that would have been such a struggle and I would have been so timid about 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, absolutely do that. And not even being bossy, just with confidence. This is what's going to work. Check it out. Try it. I'm so confident in this because I have lived, and I know, and to say to somebody with like grace and affection, I think this is going to help you. Like, give it a try. I mean, and I'm not a therapist, so it's more like, you know, go eat at this restaurant. But just that idea of like, you have to be alive to get to that point. And Tom Morello, not Tom Morello, he's the bassist for Rage Against the Machine. A different Tom, his last name is not in my head. The comedian, long hair.
Tom. I don't know, Green or something.
No, not Tom Green. It'll come to me in a minute. He's brilliant, but his name has fallen out of my head. It's been occupied by Margarita. He used to let me open for him when I was a baby comic, and I would go up to him and I'd be like, "How do I get to be like you? I want to be like you. I want the career that you have." I really admired his style, and he was very relaxed on stage. He was very conversational. You know, he didn't do jokes. He just kind of talked to people, and it seemed so effortless. And I was like, "How do I get to be like you?" And he's like, "You just got to keep getting up." This is pre 10,000 hours, you know,
yes,
right? This is pre 10,000 hours. I was like, "You just don't want to tell me the trick. You just don't, you know what I mean? You just don't want to let me in on your secret." And now I'm like, that's it. You just have to keep getting up, and there's no substitute for age. And so this thing that we all resent and we fear and we're, you know, trying to avoid is the very thing that makes us better at what we do.
Yes to that. 100%. It is the greatest thing. It is so much better than youth in so many ways, in like the biggest ways. Yeah. So it's so crazy that we're fearing the thing that is so beautiful and makes life so much easier. Yes. Unquestionably, I've gotten happier every decade, I would say. And I knew already professionally that that's what the studies already, they've told us this.
But even when they tell you that, you're like, oh, but that's not going to be.
Yeah. And then there are also these theories out there that middle age is like a big dip in happiness and that it gets better when you're older. But I don't find that at all. And I think a lot of it has to do with society changing also. Like I'm seeing more women in their 50s and 60s who are just living their life. And you can tell that it's an amazing time in life. And so it's like you're saying, you didn't have the role models before, but you're a role model for people now. And so you exist and people can see that. So it's just making it more accessible, I think, for everybody, or it's helping everybody see that. But yes, age is a benefit. I have no issues with my age, except I really don't like the aesthetics of it. That's it. I have to admit to it. I have to confess to it.
Well, so that's really interesting. And I think, and I wonder.
It's not because I look old. It's because I don't like the look of what happens when aging occurs.
You don't. I mean, you're gorgeous and you don't look old. But I also wonder if we don't like it because we've been told not to like it.
I'm sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Unquestionably.
Yeah. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday about like how everybody's mutilating their faces and how people are mutilating their faces so intensely that now you don't know what's real and what's not real. Meaning that like you start to see people who haven't mutilated their face and you're like, that looks weird to me. Because all I'm seeing is people with like giant teeth and lips out to kabunga and, you know, everything whipped to filth and their eyebrows close to their hairline. And so now that's become the norm. And so now I see a person with a normal face and that's confusing to me. So this is not
difficult.
Real. This is something we've been manipulated into. Like seeing someone with a 24-inch waist and like a 36D. I'm like, this is all made up. It's all made up. I'm going to get on my soapbox right now, and I know that I'm like an outlier, but like I'm really trying not to look at anything that's made with AI. And it's not that I'm a Luddite. I couldn't do my job without technology, but what I'm finding is it's getting so good that like I feel myself not knowing what's real and what's not. And I think that is the most damaging thing to a brain, to not be able to discern between real and fake when you are looking directly at it. We have a certain amount of evaluative structures and evaluative tools in our brain to figure out what is actually authentic and what isn't. And when we lose that tool, how can we move through the world? How can we take in and evaluate data? So I'll see it. Like I looked at a baby Robin Williams. They're making like AI versions of movies. I was like, don't look at that. Your brain is going to lose the ability to know what is real and what isn't. And it took us millions of years to evolve to this form of humans. Technology is like a tiny atom compared to the amount of time it's gotten us to this point in our technological development. It's going too quickly for the human brain to adapt. And I think the same thing was with all this crazy, like everybody with like 24-inch waist and a giant butt. Like, that's not a real human form. And God bless you if you did it. I love you and I want you to be happy. But if you are looking at it and thinking, if I don't look like that, I won't be happy, like reject that thinking immediately. You are perfect. Your body and your face are totems of what you've lived through. Don't let this person who's trying to look 24 when they're 74 make you insane, because the fact of the matter is they're doing that to themselves because they feel crazy. Now, that's probably unkind. I need a better word than crazy. But when you are seeing someone still trying to look 30,
struggling.
There is some part of them that is really struggling inside. And it's easy for me to say, but we just got to work on like just inhabiting the body and being in the body.
But it's like easier said than done.
It's so much easier said than done.
But I think you're right that we were kind of trained into this. I will also, just for the flip side of the coin, which is I also feel like if you have agency over yourself also. So if you want to, like if you want to dye your hair, you don't want to be gray, don't be gray. Like it's the same thing. So at the same time, it's like I don't want to be judgmental of people who want to do things, but the bigger impact of everybody doing it is really harmful.
Yes. I feel like people should do what makes them feel good about themselves, 100%, without any qualification. I guess my thing is everybody is starting to look the same. And I guess that's just interesting to me. We think that that's what everybody wants. We think that's the ideal. But is it? Or is it just the trend?
It's like self-perpetuating.
Yeah, we're like a school of fish. And we're all swimming in, like, after that one front fish who has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to find a way to... I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying just maybe figure out why you're doing it. And then do all the other things. Do everything in concert, right? To get to a place where self-abuse isn't the way forward. You know what I mean? That's not kind either. I don't want to say
but I just think what you were saying, everything you were saying before I jumped in with the flip side of the coin was spot on, and that's what it should be. It really is. Like, love your body for all of the wonderful things that it's been through and what it does for you. And yes, your body is amazing. And so,
like a perfect machine.
Like,
perfect machine.
I know. And nobody even like knew how to make it. Just made itself.
And it's constantly making itself. It's constantly remaking itself all the time. I was listening for a while. I was in this real dude bro era where I was listening to like, Huberman Lab and all those guys, all the optimization guys, which was good for me. I got a lot out of that stuff. And there was some female like metabolic doctor on there just talking about the body as a process and not as a thing. Like the body is a constant process. Like everything is constantly happening inside your body. Everyone's heard that thing that after 7 years, like none of the cells are the same, but like continually reinventing itself, continually accommodating for stressors. Like your body is like doing amazing stuff all day, every day, and we're all like, oh my God, I have a pimple.
Yes. The focus is all wrong.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Okay. All right. So I knew I'd have an interesting conversation with you.
It's so exciting. I love it.
Like you have, again, shared so many of these great things. So I want to chat about Criminal Minds in a second.
Yes.
But I have to ask you one thing again that you said earlier that I wanted to follow up on. So, because sometimes I'll get a thread and I'll be like, oh, I need to know more about that. So you said your 40s were a lot of things going on. So besides the divorce, what else was it?
Oh, let's see, my 40s. So my 40s were, I think, I was growing my career was kind of moving more quickly. So I was traveling a lot. And that was just a lot of like exploration of like self and self-identity, who I wanted to be friends with, how I wanted to be friends with them. I think getting married so early meant that like I had a really quiet life in my 20s. I hadn't really had a 20s. So I think my 40s were my 20s.
Oh,
honestly.
So were you dating a lot and whatnot?
No, I wasn't dating. I was just like raging. I was just going out all night. You know what I mean? I was just jamming around, staying out till 5 o'clock in the morning, which was fun. You know what I mean? And then, my divorce, and that was when I decided I wanted to direct. And I talked about this a little bit in I think a post I did for Philosophy with my business partner, but I went through a year of yes, where I was like, I'm just going to say yes to everything. I know that other people have popularized this.
Shonda Rhimes, I think.
Shonda, I think Oprah, other much more interesting, famous people have done this, but I was like, I'm going to say yes to things and kind of like live in that space of fear, and I had given a speech at Comic-Con about how much I loved the show called Penny Dreadful. And then the showrunner, John Logan, was like, you should come visit us in Ireland. And I was like, people always say that to you in this business, like, come visit us. And you're like, yeah. And you never do it. I was like, I'm going to freaking Ireland.
Good for you.
And,
yes.
Yeah. And I went by myself. And I think also my 40s was a time when I really started to get comfortable with being by myself, which I think we all fear. I think women specifically are very afraid of it for some legitimate reasons, but then I think also for some socialized reasons. And then if you're in this business and you don't have a million people around you, like, are you a loser? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they're by themselves. Don't they have any friends? But I feel like being comfortable with being alone is like a really important part of being an adult, like being able to self-soothe and care for your own emotions without like external stimulation. So I went on this trip. I read a lot. I drank Guinness. I made a lot of new friends. And then I went back and made my first short film there. So it ended up being this really like catalytic moment for me, because I shouted on some shows. I kind of really grew and formed some new friendships, and then met an artist who was like, "Do you want to come make a short film back in Ireland in December?" And so it was my first like actual like narrative short. And then the next thing I did was I made a feature. So it was very much like these decisions of like choosing to self-sustain, be alone, put myself in uncomfortable situations. Like I went to the set of Vikings, and I knew some actors on that show, and they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm shadowing." And like it was that thing of like the nerd, like, you know, the 13-year-old nerd me who always felt like an outsider, always felt observed and like I didn't belong. You know, a younger me would have been like, "Yeah, it's kind of weird." And I was like, "Oh, I'm hanging out."
Yes.
And I was there by myself, and they all knew me from TV at that point. I was making sandwiches. I was carrying stuff to set. You know, I wasn't just there like hanging out waiting for somebody to wait on me. I was like, I'm here to participate. And I think like that maybe my 40s was also just like a bit about a lot of square one-ing, a lot of like putting myself in situations where I had to like lean into my humility and not be like, "I'm here, I'm, you know, television's Aisha Tyler," but like, "Hey, do you need help? Do you need help lifting those batteries? Do you need help passing out lunch?" You know, just being alive and not without holding on to the artifice that I think we all really collect around ourselves as we get older. Like, these are my accomplishments and I would like to be recognized for them. And I'm moving through the world because I'm a fancy lady and here's all the stuff I've done and my money and my things. And just going back to just being like really humble and available. So I think that's the dynamism of my 40s, you know, just like putting myself in a situation to learn new things about myself and be silly and not be. And I think that's really served me because this is so hard to articulate, but I feel like, and I don't think it's just our business, but I do think there's something about Hollywood where when you move into a public space, you've got to look perfect. You've got to be dressed perfectly. You've got to have handlers around you. What car you step out of is important. What handbag you're wearing is important. And I will just like hump it through a brew pub and like sit down with a book. Like, I do not care. And what's great about that is people will go, "You know, you look just like Aisha Tyler." I hear that all the time. "Can I have a beer?" And then I go back to my life because like, who cares? I'm just a lady who does a job. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to always be like some encounter. Like, your life is just as interesting as mine, you know? And then if people are excited and they want to take a picture, great. But like, I don't need, and I don't want to need the feeling of moving through these spaces in some weird ass famous fancy way. And there's a famous person whose name I will not mention, I'm not even gonna say what their gender is, who will often when they go into a place have people go in first to announce that they are coming because they cannot bear the feeling of moving through a space without being recognized. But also maybe what they can't bear is the idea that they would not be recognized. And I'm like, who cares? You're just a dude or just a lady and you put your pants on one leg at a time and you poop like everybody else. And when you let go of that need to be exalted, you also let go of the anxiety that you will not be exalted. That's my speech about fame.
That's accurate. Of course, I need to know who that
dude
is.
I know, it's probably a dude, but I'll tell you off air. I don't want to blow them up. They're a nice person, but you know,
as long as you
also
tell me.
Ridiculous. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's a touch on another thing that I wish we had time to talk about because I do feel like it would be interesting is, you know, the difference between a growth mindset and fixed mindset?
I do.
Like the real actual.
Well, I want to hear from you because I'll just give you like my dude bro. I listened to a podcast thing about it, but
I bet you do then if you listen to it because it's just a little different than what people think, but you definitely have a growth mindset and that is such an easier way to move through the world. If you have a fixed mindset, it's you believe that people can't really change. Like we are who we are. Right. We're as smart as we're going to be. And so what that ends up doing is it makes you be afraid of proving that that's actually wrong and you're not that way.
Right.
So if you believe that you're an intelligent person, I'm smart, so I have to always be smart.
I can't look bad. I can't make a mistake.
Yes, because then it will show, you're not really smart, and then that threatens your entire identity. So it makes you fear failure, and it makes you feel like you need to feed that all of the time. Whereas if you see yourself as somebody who is constantly learning and improving in life, it's much easier to set yourself up in a place where you're going to fail, which, as you know, is key to success and key to everything.
Yeah.
So you have a growth mindset.
I love that, and I do, and I think the other thing about knowing that I don't have a fixed mindset is that I am not at all the person that I was when I was 15 or 25 or 35 or 45. Like at all.
At all.
There are elements of that personality, elements of that person in me, but I'm such a different person. And thank God, you know what I mean? Like what if I'd stopped growing, like that would just be a tragedy, an absolute tragedy. Like I really hope I'm not going to be the same person in 10 years either.
Same.
You know what I mean? Like,
I absolutely love evolving. And I wish I knew that life would constantly be a series of evolutions.
Yes. Rather than I was going to hit a wall and that was going to be like the end game for me. And, and I also want to say that for people who feel like I had this life in mind for myself and I have it and I'm good, like God bless, because not everybody craves dynamism and not everybody can tolerate it. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's some people like, I want to just like, I got like my 5 or 6 pieces in place and I'm cool. But I even think in those environments, you might be surprised by the ways in which your feelings about your life could be improved by like just little changes or like I'm learning a new language and it's so hard and I'm so irritated, so frustrated and so irritated. But also like I can feel myself getting better at it every day and it's great. It's great. It's great to feel, as an adult, feel yourself getting good at something when you feel like all your learning days were back in your teens.
I have another thing I want to share, like, because again, you're triggering something else, is there's this period in between when you know how to do something or when you don't know how to do something and you know how to do it, right? So you might set your eyes on something, say, I really want to be good at this or know how to do this, but here I am. So there's this big gap in between. There's this period of time where you're learning it and it feels very uncomfortable. And a lot of people can't tolerate that zone. And so it's like they don't even want to enter that zone. So all that does is it keeps them in this one space. Right. So if you can learn to lean into that zone and the discomfort of it and learn to be comfortable in your discomfort, it is a huge advantage because it will take you places you never even thought you could go.
I love that. I love it. And then you start to crave it, a little bit of the uncertainty and the fun of like what's going to happen, which I always used to say when I was going through my divorce and friends were going through bad breakups. I was like, listen, you can change it from what's going to happen to what's going to happen, which I love. And that's been something I've used. But I'm doing Duolingo. I'm not really shouting out Duolingo, but I'm just, everybody's doing language? Duolingo, Irish, Gaelic. And and I am such an apple polisher and I really need to get an A+ in everything. So the big struggle for me is just like surrendering to when I don't know the answer and not like going over to Google and looking it up and then coming back to the app. I need to get an A in everything. So I've been trying to break my kind of like nerdy childhood nature and be like, it's okay to just like make these mistakes, which I was just talking about how important mistakes are, but just be living in I don't know the answer to this question. Like, it's okay. It's just an app on my phone. You know what I mean? It's not going to show up in the public record. Yes. But yeah, it's been really, really fun. And it's also for people out there who want to learn something new. It's a game and I love games. I love winning games and playing games. So it's like that. If there was one thing I was like, I probably need to do less Duolingo because I'm just like on the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning, just trying to hanging out with Duo.
I think there are that's not the worst, use
worse
of time.
Vices that I could have at 3 in the morning than doing Duolingo on the toilet. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of evolution.
Yeah.
Criminal Minds evolution. How's that for a segue?
Oh, beautifully done.
Thank you.
Artful. Very elegant. Well played.
So, all right. So Criminal Minds Evolution is back.
Yes.
And I think it's still the beginning of the season. How many episodes do you do now?
So we do 10 a season. We were doing between 22 and 24 when we were on CBS.
Yeah.
And now we're doing 10, which is much more kind of normal for a streaming show. And I think has been really good and manageable for us because, a network television, the show was like 42 minutes, something like that, commercial breaks, et cetera. But now we kind of get to do what we get to do. And so sometimes the episodes are 50 minutes, sometimes they're over an hour. The storytelling is much richer. And I want to say languid, that's not fair, but it's just we get to tell the story we want to tell. We're not hamstrung by these other constraints. So that 10 episode run, I think, there's an old saying, I don't know who said it, feel free to write in, that in like when you're doing 22 episodes of TV, you'll do like 8 great ones and 6 fine ones and then 8 really, really poor ones, right? But with 10, you can do 10 perfect episodes of TV. You know what I mean? It's a long production schedule. It's a heavy lift and you never want to have a layup in there. You want everything to really hang together beautifully. So these 10 have been really just an ideal number of episodes, because we also were doing these kind of like Freak of the Week. You know, it was bad guy every week, unsub every week. And now it's much more serialized. There's more time with the characters' backstories, their personal lives. And then we always have some kind of like longer, almost like a puzzle box arc, you know, some mystery that lives through the entire season. So it's just been a much more elegant way of telling a story. And it's so good. I mean, we're in the middle of filming season 19 right now. We just started. And it's just dreamy.
So you're filming now.
We're filming now and we're airing now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you do it that far in advance?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I could tell you that we had a way it now that we've moved to streaming, because we moved, then almost immediately it was COVID, and then there was a strike. So there's nothing really you know, categorically set about how we're doing it right now. But the show is doing well, and, you know, it's people know it. People know it.
And I mean, it is outrageous.
Yeah.
And your fans are they are loyal.
Oh my God, talk about loyalty. Talk about like just deep knowledgeability. Like these people know everything about the show, everything about everybody. And like dedicated, engaged. It's there are other shows that have run this long, but this is an unusual kind of show. There's nothing like it. And the fact that it's this strange global phenomenon, and that people can go back and watch it from the beginning all the way through to now. Yes, it's a very intense fandom.
So what do you think what's the magic ingredient that has people so intense about it?
It's a question that we get asked all the time, because it's a very dark show, you know, and I give the same answer, which is, I think, like, fundamentally, you know, it's a show about fear. It's a show about our fears, and people are engaging with their fears when they want, and if they're human fears, they're real fears. It's not like watching a show about monsters, right? I mean, these are, you know, they're legitimate fears, but that there's this core of like dedicated, tireless people that are working around the clock to make sure that the rest of us are safe. And that's there's a deep comfort in that it is, in some ways, it's comfort food. But there are good guys working very hard to put the bad guys away.
Okay.
And it's intellectual. It's not, you know, sure, we kick a lot of doors down and, you know, bust a lot of bad guys, but it's not like a typical cop show. It's a show about people using their minds, using their brains to solve problems. And to me, I think that feels less ephemeral than just like the, you know, bad guy, boo, 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 poo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are people that like every minute of every day is dedicated to like tracking these guys down and stopping them before they do more bad stuff.
Right.
So it feels soothing, I think, to people, you know. The number of people that have come up to us and been like, I'm going to become a criminologist because of you. I'm going to go into, you know, forensic work because of you. I want to become a lawyer because of the show. That's like an unusual way of relating to the people that watch your show. Like, this changed the course of my life. And it's very much because we're all thinking really hard. It's a show about people who think really hard. That is the show. The show is not coppers and bad guys. 50 minutes out of the hour, we're sitting in a room talking about bad guys and why they do the things they do and how to stop them. Yeah, it's a puzzle. And people can engage in that way, in an intellectual way.
And do you feel like when they meet you, do they feel like you're that soothing person to them? Like, is that the reaction you get?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I'm really trying to think about like what people are just excited. I think they love the show. I think when you see somebody every week on your television, you feel a connect. Yeah, you think you know them. You feel like you have a connection to them that's specific and intimate. I try to be as as kind as I can, because I'm caring for a relationship that I didn't build. You know what I mean? Like, they've set up a set of expectations that I had nothing to do with, and I want to make sure I can't service them fully, but I don't want, you know, like, I know the number of times I met someone I admired and they disappointed me. It was heartbreaking. You know what I mean? I very much am like a don't meet your idols kind of person, because there have been a couple times where I really got oh yeah. I mean, not very many. I'll tell you a good one.
Okay, good.
I'll tell you a good one, which is I met I'd broken my arm one year snowboarding in Park City, and name drop, and I was going to the Golden Globes, and I was very dressed up, but then I had a sling on my arm, which was not the greatest. And Clint Eastwood was there, and I didn't even say I'm a big not. I almost never go up to people. You know what I mean? Because how can this interaction ever be as exciting as the one that you've made up in your head, right?
Okay.
But I was just standing there talking to someone next to him, and he goes, "Oh, what happened to your bum wing?" That was
Oh,
it. That's all I
that's
needed.
fabulous.
That was exactly what you needed Clint Eastwood to say to you about your broken arm, right? I think I fainted. It was the greatest. I'll never forget it. And I just feel like a little bit of generosity. Like I know what that tiny bit of generosity did for me. So I really just try to be as kind as I can, and beyond that, really haven't had any like, really wild fan interactions. I think people get excited and
You don't have like stalkers and whatnot?
I think everybody on the show has had their fair share of kind of like overly intimate fans, but I think we all work really hard to, just create separation in our lives. And
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a fine line,
it is.
I think.
It is. Yeah.
Especially because here you are with these high-minded
right.
goals,
right.
like of what you want to project and what you want to do and what you want to protect also. But at the same time, it's like with this other stuff happening.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to be aware of it.
Yeah.
You just have to be, you have to understand that it exists and put protections in place to keep, yourself and your loved ones kind of separated a little bit from, the public eye. I think it's as important for the people in your life as for yourself.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, just try to move through the world with a bit of awareness. You know what I mean? I think some of the weirdest interactions I've had have not been with fans, but have been with like friends of friends. Like you go to a bar with your friends and then a friend shows up and that friend wants to like wear you out. Do you know what I mean? And like that, I think that's been like the most oppressive when like a guy who's like a friend of mine is like, so like, tell me about Hollywood. And you like have a nice conversation with the guy for like 20 minutes. And then he's like, so, tell me about Hollywood. And you're like, dude, the meter is up. But yeah, I've been fortunate that I haven't had any really, really negative experiences. Like this one night, I just remember I was with some friends and the bartender, and I was like, someone has to do something. And he just went over, he's like, buddy, you gotta go. And I was like, super tip for you, buddy. Super tip. Yeah.
Sometimes you
super
just need
tip.
somebody else.
Yeah,
to
but you
step
know what?
in.
I mean, you don't have to be in my line of work to have a guy at a bar
Right.
wear out your ear, right? That's a
That is
unique
the
experience for any woman, and I'm sure plenty of men, on the planet. Like sometimes a guy just needs to go.
That's absolutely true.
A guy just needs to go. Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap up
Yes.
with, I think you gave me so many great nuggets that people can take with them.
I love therapy. I just came to therapy to therapize. That's not a word either, guys. That's synesthetize and therapize are the two words that I made up today.